Welcome to Revealing Conversations with Petra Nicoll. I am so pleased to be here today with Klazina Dobbe. I had to ask Klazina how to pronounce her name because it is spelled Dobbe and it is Dobbe. So I thought it was really fun to actually learn how to say her name properly. So
you said it right.
So I'm at our Washington retreat house right now during this crazy quarantine. And last year, or this year actually, in January, my partner took me to a meditation gathering, which was at the Woodland, Washington Tulip Farm.
Mm-hmm.
And Klazina is the owner. And we got to sit in this amazing cabin or studio and then go into this little, it's like a tiny house with a fireplace in the middle, and it was so lovely. And you do these meditations once a month, and of course everything is on halt at the moment. But I ran into you, and here are the tulips from the tulip farm. I went over there and saw Klazina the other day. We kept our distance, and Klazina announced to me that she was celebrating her clearance from her doctor and that her cancer has gone into remission. So today we're going to talk about her cancer survival, or it's not even survival, it's literally a overcoming through meditation and different lifestyle. And I will just briefly read you her bio. Klazina Dobbe immigrated from Holland and started the Holland and America Flower farm with her husband. She learned if you mature plants, they will blossom. If you nurture plants, they will blossom. The same is true for people. This became the basis of her 20-year work in healing. She earned a master's degree in acupuncture and oriental medicine and holds certificates in hypnosis, NLP, and Reiki. Welcome, Klazina. So good to be here with you.
It's a delight to be with you.
Thank you for being on the show. So tell me a little bit, how did you heal from the cancer? Like, what did you do? You had metastatic cancer, breast cancer. And then yes. I also heard the story and read your book, which, by the way, is right here. I'm holding it. It's an amazing book. You must read it. It's the whole journey of Klazina's life. And it's marvelous that both you and your sister had been diagnosed prior to your last diagnosis. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. My sister was diagnosed late 2013 with brain cancer, and my diagnosis was in January of 2014 with breast cancer. So we did sort of the journey together. Although she lived more than 9,000 miles away, she lived in Holland. And but we talked every day on the phone, and I was so amazed with how positive she looked at her journey. Well, unfortunately, she didn't make it, but her journey was amazing. There was a lot of healing that happened on her journey. So it's not always to say that when we're on a journey of healing from cancer that you will survive, but what you do with the time that you have when you have cancer, that is where the miracle is. So yeah, it was beautiful to watch her and to learn from her and to heal myself.
So did you get to see each other during that time?
Yes, we saw each other twice. After my diagnosis, 2 weeks later, I went to Holland to visit her, and we had the best conversations with each other, laughing, crying, talking about her childhood and about her parents. And by the way, our parents were her spiritual guides, and my grandmother was my spiritual guide, so we could share that. And the funny thing is, one night when we were there at her house, we were sitting and talking about, the family, and all of a sudden music started to play, and nothing was on, no radio, no computer, nothing, no TV. So we all of a sudden we were startled and said, what is going on? And both at the same time we said, oh, that is our mom and dad. They were letting us know that they're here. And the fact that music played, music is a big thing in my family. So it was just, such a miracle to experience that.
So
yeah.
had your biological parents passed away, or explain?
Yeah, they had passed away at that time. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So how old were you when your parents passed away?
We already lived here. It was in 2003 and 4 that they passed away. So, yeah, they had a good life. My mom, unfortunately, had Alzheimer's disease for 10 years. So at the end, she didn't recognize anyone anymore. But her spirit was bright. Her spirit still came through, which is a whole different story with people with Alzheimer's. I think they're in and out of being in the physical form, but most of the time they're on the spiritual side. So
I agree with you. I thought about that a lot and studied it for a while, and I thought, okay, so they're leaving their body,
yes,
and go into the spirit world, and then they check in occasionally into the physical.
Yeah, I can't blame them.
Nice to be. Bad. I went through a phase of that with India when I meditated too many hours.
I can see that. You never want to come back, probably.
Not really, no. I didn't want to come back. So I had a very similar scenario with my parents. When they passed away, I felt closer to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Spiritually closer. The same with my grandfather. I always felt them in the room, and I felt like I could finally have a conversation with my grandfather, because while he was in the physical, he couldn't sit still long enough to listen to a conversation. And so I didn't have to talk anymore. So, a lot of my listeners will be very curious. How was your healing process? What did you do? What did you give up? What did you add into your lifestyle? What exactly did you do?
Well, the first round of cancer in 2014, what I did is I only needed surgery first, and it was only like a half centimeter tumor. So it was very small. And I still believe that at that time, I heard a lot of women say that they had cancer. I don't believe that was cancer. I think, but that's a whole other story, Anyway, I was diagnosed and they removed it. And then I had 3 weeks of radiation. Mm. And what I did with the radiation, I visualized that the beams of the radiation would turn into healing beams of light and heal me. So that was my first experience with using light and changing my way of healing. And what I also did at that time, because breast cancer is hormones. My body makes too much hormones, and I stopped eating food, especially meats that had hormones injected in them. So I think that's why so many women nowadays get cancer, because chicken and beef, and it's all injected with hormones, and that's not good for us. So that's how I healed the first time. But then this time I was diagnosed last year in July on my birthday, July 3, and right away I thought, I'm gonna do this different. So the metastatic breast cancer, if you have a choice of getting a cancer, then this is the best one, because it's you don't have to do surgery or chemo or radiation, and it's like a mild form, if I can say that, of cancer, but it spreads throughout the body. So it locks into the bones, into the lymph systems, and in the lungs first. Mm-hmm. But it can also go to the brain. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, cancer, what is cancer? Cancer is just like a spoiled child that copies your cells and moves from the breast to another part of the body. So I thought, I'm going to conquer you and tell you just to leave. And so that's how I approached that. So started with 2 medications. One was letrozole, which is shrinking tumor cells of the breast. And the other was the eye brands that we talked about before. That is like a mild chemo. And when I started to take these right away, in 2 months, the cancer cells already had shrunk significantly. So that was good. And then in December, I felt sick and had sort of flu type symptoms. And I decided not to take the eye brands anymore, because eye brands you take for 3 weeks. And every week you have to do a blood test to see where your neutrophils are. And neutrophils are the cells that strengthen your immune system. So every week my neutrophils would go down, my immune system would get worse. And at the end of the 3 weeks, I, would get sick a little bit. But then in December, I got sick twice. Because my immune system was down. Besides taking, supplements like elderberry, which is good for your immune system, and I was also taking supplements for my bones, strengthening my bones and my lungs, and I did all kinds of different things like Thieves. That's an oil of On Guard from different companies that fights viruses. So I did all kinds of things. And in December, I still got sick. And then I decided, I'm not going to take this medication, the Ibrance, in January anymore, because it makes me sick. It doesn't make any sense. So in January, after I had the PET scan in December, and my doctor said that everything looked better, but it was not gone yet. And I decided, before I went, I'm gonna just tell him what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna ask. I'm gonna tell him, I'm gonna stop the Ibrance, the chemo pill, and tell him what else I'm doing. So I went there, and it was really, really nice to go to your doctor and say, and he's a great doctor. I said, I'm not gonna take this anymore because it makes me sick. And then, he was really calm. And then I said, I'm going to tell you what other things I do. I'm using breath therapy from Wim Hof. I'm using all kinds of protocols like Cryon, talking to your cells, visualize energy and healing going into my cells. And when he heard me talking, all of a sudden, it was almost like he lit up and said, oh, I'm meditating for 40 years and I know all these people you're talking about. So it was just such a wonderful feeling that my doctor was on board with me. But I also knew that he could not, by himself, he could not go there because he's a medical doctor. So he could not say to patients like, why don't you do meditation or things like that. Mm-hmm. So I was very fortunate to speak my mind and say, this is what I'm going to do. And that he was with me on that. So I would have done it anyway, but it helped a lot. That
it must have been so reaffirming for you to have a doctor who didn't shoot it down and say, oh my God, why are you doing this? You need to get on chemo and you need to stay on this medication, which is normally what happens.
Correct. And that's why a lot of other people that have cancer and go to their doctors, they're scared. They feel that if I don't do this, then I'm going to die. And I just trusted right away. I knew I was not going to die from this. The day I was diagnosed, I knew I was not going to die from this. So, and I had it the first time too. It's just a journey for me. There's a lesson in there. And I want to know the lesson of it. So, and I received the lessons. The first time the lesson was to learn about my ancestors and the DNA. All the experiences of our ancestors, the emotions of their experiences, are still in our DNA. They're locked in our DNA, and we are still dealing with that. And the lesson was that I needed to learn and share that with not only me and my sister, but also with our granddaughters and with the whole world, because we all have ancestors that went through difficult times, and we still hold the emotions of their experiences in our memory cells. So that was the first lesson. And the second, this time I sort of got away from meditating every day. And it was just that they said, you know, you need to connect with us again. So here I am. Every day, in the beginning, twice a day, I would do the Wim Hof breathing exercises, which are powerful. You know, if what he says is that if you fill your cells with oxygen, then no disease can live there. And I think he's so right. So what I did is that I did his breathing exercises, and there's a pause in between. Then what I did then, I would listen to angel music, and I visualized that the tones of the music traveled on beams of colored light into my cells, and I placed the message on there of healing or light or whatever, you know. So that's what I did, and I, from the moment I meditated twice a day, I got so connected with spirit, and I got so many messages, you know, synchronicities, and it was just wonderful. So yeah, it was really a miracle what happened. And now last week I heard that I'm in remission. So, but it's all, you know, it's all in our mind. We have the power to connect with our body, to talk to ourselves, and our cells are listening to us. The spirits are just waiting there to be asked to join us. You know, we are not separate from them. We are one of them. We are spirit ourselves. And we have a whole team of spirits that, you know, a group. I believe we come into groups together. And the fact that I'm here in the physical also means that my circle of spirits is out there guiding me every day. But it's up to us to say, okay, you know, I want to connect with you, you know, tell me what I need to know, tell me what I need to learn. And that's when you can get connected. And the more you do it, the more clear you get about your life, about your journey here in life. Because, you know, our journey here on this earth plane also affect them on the other side. So normally we don't think about it, but what we do, what we choose to do, is also affecting the whole spiritual community. And look at the time we're in. You know, it's a beautiful time. Although we're in a crisis, it's a beautiful time of awakening. So I'm so glad that I'm here on this earth plane and experience all these wonderful things of awakening. So I know you do that too.
When you said earlier that you took the radiation as rays of light for healing, I thought that was very powerful. And I think more people need to hear that when they're going through the treatments, that you can actually morph some of these effects by your visualization, like what you're visualizing, rainbow light or golden light. We work here at our retreat center with Wim Hof method. And we do the breathing, the tumor breathing and all this, and put people in ice buckets and ice baths, and, you know, and some people are very open and other people are not, but everyone walks away feeling better and stronger. And so I'm just so pleased to hear that you're doing the Wim Hof method breathing, because he had cancer. He had healed himself. He had like so many, I mean, take the story that you mentioned earlier about Joe Dispenza. He had this massive accident. I think he was on a bicycle, wasn't it? Do you remember the story?
Yeah, he was on a bicycle and he was hit by a car, and he broke some of his vertebrae in his neck. So he was paralyzed. Yeah, amazing story. And he was just laying there, and the doctors wanted to operate on him. And he said all the time, no, just wait. And he was just laying there and meditating, and got the message from spirit, no, don't get the surgery. So he didn't. And then every day he got more clear about how to heal. And that's his journey. That's how his journey started of healing himself with his mind. And look at what he's doing now in the world. You know, he has this center in Northern California where they measure people's brain waves when they go into meditation or when they go into healing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just amazing, the information that there's that's out there, you know, how to connect with ourselves. I want to tell this story about Greg Braden. And years ago, I saw this video of him, you might have seen it too, about a woman in China that had bladder cancer. And this is an old video, you know, it's like the knowledge is so long out there. But she was laying in a room and had bladder cancer, and they put an ultrasound machine on her. So then in the room came 3 Qigong masters. And they're powerful, you know, beings. They know what they're doing, and they started chanting the words that, you know, would be equivalent to all gone. So they started with the 3 of them sounding the mantra, all gone, for almost 3 minutes. And in the meantime, you could look at the screen of the ultrasound, and you could see the tumor in her bladder disappearing. I mean, that is so amazing. When we talk to the cells, when we change the energy of the cells, it's all about energy. You know, everything in the universe, our thoughts are energy, our emotions have a different energies, our body, you know, all the body parts have different vibrations. So if you change the vibration of the cells, then there's healing can take place. You know, it's the same about Dr. I think his name was Emoto, the Japanese doctor.
Misaru Emoto, yes.
Yes. He did the test on water, and he took 2 water bottles or glasses, I don't remember. And on one of them, he put the word love, and then on the other one, he put the word hate. So then he froze the water, and after it was frozen, he took the particles out and put them underneath the microscope. And the water that was injected with the word love were beautiful crystals and colors, and, you know, so peaceful. And when he looked at the other one, the water that was injected with the word hate, it was murky and, you know, dark. So that just, you know, just tells you a lot about what we can do with our mind, how we can change the energy, the vibration of ourselves, how to do that with our mind. So that's the approach I took when I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, that I'm going to talk to my cells. I'm going to change the vibration of my cells. Mm-hmm. And there's one thing I want to say about it. You know, if you do that journey, you cannot for 2 months keep on asking for healing. Because if you continue to ask for healing, then you sort of agree that you're not healed yet. So you need to change your story all the time. So after I felt like I was healed, I changed my story, you know, in like, I want renewal of my cells, or repair of my cells, or recalibration of my cells. So don't get stuck into, I need healing, because then you say to yourself, I'm not healed yet. So that's very powerful.
Well, I had, I don't know if I ever had a chance to tell you that story, Klazina. I went to Mexico in 1994, and I moved in with my then partner, Christopher, and the house hadn't been finished, and I couldn't remember that there was no railing on the upper floor. And he unrolled the carpet, and I helped him unroll the carpet and stepped back and fell into the basement.
Wow.
And it was really far down. And I had just come off, you know, 11 years of meditating in India and in ashrams, and spending a great many hours a day and night in meditation. So I was lying there on the stairs, and I knew that something was really wrong, but I didn't know how wrong. So he was running downstairs in a complete panic, and I said, just let me close my eyes and heal myself. So he's thinking, oh my God, she's dying on me. Yeah. So they took me to the ambulance. You know, the ambulance came, and this was Mexico. You know, the roads are really bumpy. I mean, it was bad. I knew I had some broken ribs and I didn't know what else was wrong, but it hurt more than the fall, being in the ambulance. And then they just sent me home. They didn't even take x-rays. I really could have died at home probably because I had 3 broken ribs. But the next day, Christopher was down at the beach with my son playing, and I was in bed, and there was a knock on the door, and it was Dr. Miguel Lanzagorda, who was a physician, but also a metaphysical person that worked with all kinds of different shamans and healers. Mm. And I couldn't open the door because I couldn't move. I had at that point found out that I had 3 broken ribs, a busted up pancreas, kidney, and other things. So Miguel opened the door and came in and found me there in bed, and then, you know, somehow took me to the living room and put his hand on my chest and said, okay, we got to get you to this healer. So they drove me across the border to Chula Vista to this old Mexican woman. Her name was Madre Sarita. Later, I found out that she was the grandmother of Miguel Ruiz, who wrote the 4 Agreements.
Oh, wow.
He was Nagua Indian, and she was his teacher. So they took me to her. So she rolled this egg all over my body and then cracked it in this glass of water, which is a shamanic technique that they do to find out what's going on with your body. Well, she told me that spirit had thrown me down the stairs to wake me up, because a message was supposed to be relayed to me. And there was no way I was going to listen to the message. I'll fall down the stairs, all the way down the stairs, and break my body up to get the message. And the message was that I had to enter into the metaphysical world a lot more of exactly what you're talking about. And she did psychic surgery on me 3 times and completely put me back together. But the big part was that she said, you're not here for broken ribs and a few physical problems. You're here because you have a massive lung infection from sadness and grief, because I had spent 11 years, all my 20s and early 30s, in meditation, and I had basically no life. And so I became so sad that I didn't even know how sad I had become. And she said that I had to become joyful and happy again, and stop meditating so much.
Whoa.
Because I had checked out and I had moved into the other realms more and more. And I didn't really want to be in physicality. And so this was a reminder, hey, it's time for you to come back in the body. But the best part was when you talked about your cancer, and I don't even want to call it cancer. I don't ever want to name it again. Okay, I don't want to name it. When whatever it was that you were given as a gift to heal, let's call it that, the great gift.
Totally.
It was the great gift.
Yeah.
That great gift. And my fall was the greatest gift in my life, because I was cracked open to all the things that I had studied but wasn't putting into practice, to realize that we were not limited and that we could heal ourselves. And she showed me some techniques, breathing techniques, and gave me this bottle that had a crazy lizard on it that I had to take to heal my lungs, and that I would wake up at 1 a.m. and spit into a cotton ball this poison, this energy that was stuck in my lungs, and then bury it in the sand by the ocean, because we were living on the beach. And, you know, things absolutely, I mean, everything opened up. And speaking of Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza, you know, they're going to be in Hawaii together, the 3 of them, this October. So I think you need to come with me.
Oh, I would love that. You know, they call them the 3 amigos. You know, they're so amazing.
Yeah, I have the ticket. You need to come, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to cancel, you know.
So, yeah, I would love to. Yeah, they have so much wisdom between them. Yeah, but that's a great story you're telling, you know, and the same, like you said, is true for me. Like, it's the wake up call, and I get messages still every day. And what I get lately is, you know, I have studied for 30 years in metaphysical, and I have a lot of knowledge in my mind. You know, it's just there, and I always wanted to teach that. And lately, my my spirit guidance said, you know, yeah, if you teach other people's knowledge, that's one thing, but you need to tell your own story, and that's what it's all about. You know, for you to tell your story about the fall and about what happened after that, those are the important stories that we can tell. And you know, like Joe Dispenza did the same thing. He had a serious accident, and his way of healing, he's sharing that with the whole world, and then from there he would study, you know, different other modalities. So yeah, it's all about our stories. We all have a story. Yeah. And especially the ones that are awakening, you know, we are awakening to our stories. And yeah, we have a lot of, you know, I'm talking about myself, I have a lot of knowledge about the metaphysical and about healing, but that's not what I'm supposed to share. I just learned that I'm supposed to share my my story and how I healed, and that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
Are you still doing acupuncture? I mean, you have a master's degree in oriental medicine, so are you still practicing?
No, I'm not. You know, no. In 2008, I handed my clinic over to another girl, and she's wonderful. And the reason why I wanted to stop with acupuncture, because I wanted to learn more. And acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine is just wonderful because it works with the 5 elements. It works with spirit. You know, it's a spiritual, energetic medicine. And I felt there was more. I felt that when I was an acupuncturist, I would say, you know, to a person, I'm going to put this needle in, like spleen 6, and when I put this needle in, you got more energy. And what I learned from that was that if I do that, then I have an intent, and I work on that meridian that will get a person more energy, but also the patient is on board because they think to themselves, oh, I'm going to get more energy. So what happens is they will get more energy. So I thought, you know, there's something to that. If we express, if we talk about it, then things are happening. So that's when I went to study more, like I studied hypnosis, how the mind works, NLP, all kinds of things like that. And that's how I came to learn how to work with the mind even more and with the spirit, and know that every thought we have has an energy, and every emotion we have has an energy. So our thoughts are creating our life, and if we have a negative experience, you know, it's not per se about going back to our negative experiences. Because they're just stories. What we have to heal is the emotions from that. Mm-hmm. So,
you know, speaking of emotions, I would say with the work that I like to do with people, golden light meditation and emotional processing, I mean, I believe that between the ages of 0 to 7, and sometimes even in vitro, is that's when we are actually programmed within that matrix, our whole makeup. We've already downloaded all the messages from our parents, you know, and we could have lovely parents, but if they're running programs that are, you know, self-defeating somehow, the child will download those. And so, you know, I spent a good 20 years of my life trying to deprogram, going into the deprogram. It's like the Matrix movie, you know, I had swallowed the red pill. I said, okay, it's time to deprogram. None of that stuff was real. You know, all these ideas. And then you were speaking about DNA. When I was in India, a woman tapped me on the shoulder. She was meditating behind me. And she said, you know, I just had a vision of you in Auschwitz. You were 5 and you were gassed to death. And so I always had this really strange feeling around, and I almost died suffocating in this life.
Yeah.
So, and I had this incredible aversion to Nazi Germany. I can't even explain how it affected me. And I know it's in the DNA.
Yes. Yeah. And maybe it was not even you,
right.
But you picked that up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a similar experience in Dachau. I was like, you know, a girl. I was a teenager, 7 years old, and my father was a German, and he was a professor. And we were hiding Jews, and he was caught. So the whole family was taken to a concentration camp, and that's where I was. And I'm not going to go in detail of that, but you know, I was abused severely and murdered. But yeah, those are very serious imprints on our DNA. But yeah, we can all heal that. It's right now we all heal that because you know, there's a new energy in the world. The old energy is gone. And you know, when we are using our light, when we become more light and more positive and more loving, have more compassion, that is changing the vibration not only for us but also for the world. So that energy that we create in our body is going straight into the earth through the crystalline grids, and from there it travels all over the world. So what we will see in the near future is that places like Auschwitz and places where there were you know, serious murders, that energy is going to be diminished a little bit, you know, more and more. The more we bring light into the world, the more these fields of energy will disappear. And that's what's happening right now in the world. So that is very fascinating, that when we develop our own intuition and when we meditate and change our field, that it's not only for us, but it's for the entire world. So I want people to know that.
Now you're studying with Cryon.
I'm studying with him. Yeah, I'm listening to him every night before I go to sleep. He's just amazing.
Can you tell my audience a little bit about who Cryon is and what that's about?
Yeah, Cryon is channeled by Lee Carroll. And so he is a person from the other side that can see what's going on in the world, but also he is teaching us all about, he has written books about our DNA. He has written so many books, but I listen to his lectures every night before I go to sleep. And every time, you know, there's something new, like from what's going on in the world. But he was also the one that taught me to talk to yourselves because they're listening. And it's just very inspirational what he's all talking about. But you get it straight from the universe. And he has predicted that we're moving into a new vibration. The world is not going to be the same as it was before. And it had not everything to do with the virus that we have now. But you know, we are evolving as humanity, and most people that are listening, they probably know about what happened in 2012. You know, there was a big shift in the world. But 2020, it's even a bigger shift because a lot of people are home and they have time to meditate more, time to think about their lives, what we're going to do with our life. You know, what can we change? What can we create? What can we hear from spirit? So there's a big movement going on, which is very positive. And Cryon is talking about it. He talked a little bit about the coronavirus, you know, where it comes from, and we will find out more what it's really about. But yeah, it's very inspirational.
Now you got me curious. Klazina, what does he say about the coronavirus? Because I've been tuning in. What is the entity? What is the message for the planet?
Well, what he said is that the coronavirus didn't come from a bat. You know, it's like maybe it did, but it was created in a laboratory. They took the virus of an animal, because normally viruses of animals don't jump over to humans. But what they did, they added to that virus, they added like the HIV virus and the other viruses, and then it was sort of spilled in the laboratory. So that's what happened. But he didn't say too much about, you know, other things. But he said later on, you guys will find out and learn what really was going on. So, but I believe that, you know, that it was created in a laboratory. territory. But there's so much more about that, about other people in the world that are going to take advantage of that. And but there is, I think, the group of us that who are meditating and are loving and bring compassion. Compassion and love is more powerful than negative energy. So we will conquer that, and we will not let.
I was very impressed with the interview with Brian Rose on London Real with David Icke, that after 3 hours or the last 20 or 30 minutes, David Icke spoke only about love. And that I was so happy to hear that we can overcome this. We can create immunity by building our immune system. Number one, we have to build our immune system. We cannot eat these foods we've been eating collectively. No. The foods we're eating are poison for the body. And we have to stay positive, and we have to open our hearts. And so I see this tetrahedron, when I do biofeedback and I align people's chakras and look at their aura and, what they need physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I mean, it's coming up in a great way that people do need to meditate. And the unfortunate thing is that they closed the parks, because people do need to get out in nature right now, especially in springtime.
Yes. Because sunshine, sunshine is healing. It's killing viruses.
Yeah, exactly. And for you have the tulip farm. You can go in the greenhouse. I was on your farm the other day, and I was walking through all the field with the tulips, and you take in all these colors, and you feel really good. As you can see, I have all these tulips here.
Yeah, this year we had so many visitors in our fields, and I'm glad we were not forced to close our fields. We had to be careful with putting out signs, but people were there constantly, day until till it was dark, and they took pictures. But I think when you walk into a field of flowers, colors, they're so vibrant, they change your energy. They change your field. That's why it's so important to bring flowers into your house. Because flowers heal. They have done research on that flowers, if you place them in your home, they have a healing properties to that. So very important to bring nature into your house. Live plants, bring them into your house.
I have to go back to your farm, and I know your tulips are in the refrigerator, and you can just go in and take a bundle of tulips and then put the money in the mailbox.
Yes.
So that's super easy to do. I need to go back and get more, because now I'm addicted to it.
That's good. I like
now
that.
It's everywhere in my house now. So, Klazina, what motivated you and your husband to come to the United States? I mean, you're an immigrant like me. I'm a legal alien.
Me too.
I'm an alien from Germany, and nowadays, now Germany finally recognizes the possibility of having two nationalities, so I can now accept the American citizenship and keep my German status at the same time. So I'm applying. But what motivated you to come to the United States?
Well, there was a lot of different things, but we both love a challenge, and a challenge it was. We had 3 little kids when we immigrated, and we always loved the United States, America. We loved America. And Benno's sister, my husband's sister, she was a citizen, so that's why we were in a 5th preference. It was easier to come into the United States because his sister was a citizen. And so we went for it and started our farm here in Woodland, Washington, of all places. And we have loved it here. We love the United States. We love to grow and share that gift with the world. So we ship all over the country, all the states. We import our bulbs from Holland and from New Zealand. So because you have the different different times of the year. In New Zealand, they harvest their bulbs in a different time that we can use in our greenhouses. So, but people don't know that we have a big greenhouse here in Woodland, Washington, where we grow most of our tulips from November till May.
Oh.
But our biggest farm is in California. We have a farm in California on the Central Coast in Arroyo Grande. And that's where we grow lilies and irises and freesias, and that's year round. We have 60 acres there in greenhouses, so that's a big farm.
Oh, well, I have to go there sometime. I love lilies. It's my favorite flower.
Yeah, they're beautiful. We have all kinds of different lilies. And
so where do we go from here? You are obviously, I think I saw something this morning from the governor of Washington that they're opening up the parks in the first phase and golf courses. Do you play golf?
No.
Well, you know, there's a golf course right next door to me. So I was thinking about getting golf clubs.
Oh, I love the Lewis River Golf Course. Yeah, my husband loves to play golf and my son.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And then I think, I don't know what's next. Hair studios and all those sorts of things are still taking a couple more weeks. So I have some hairdresser friends who are really struggling. I mean, really struggling.
Yeah.
You know, because they were living paycheck to paycheck, and they can't wait for the doors to open.
Yeah, I hear you. I have a couple of friends that are hairdressers, and last night I had a Zoom meeting with my meditation group, and one of them is a hairdresser, and she, thank God, could apply for unemployment, so she is okay. But you know, and another friend of mine is a massage therapist, and they really miss their work, although they might get a composition for missing out on their wages, but they're missing their work, they're missing their clients, their friends, you know, that they work with. So it's time that we open up again and you know, get back to life.
Yeah, otherwise we'll have more people on depression medication and people losing houses than people getting sick with other things.
Yes, yeah, and even now you hear it already, suicide, you know, it's really sad. But you know, it's time that we reconnect again, and I think, you know, by the end of this year, everything will be so much better. But there's always, in a crisis like this, there's always people that fall through the crack and they will never come back. You know, they might lose their businesses, but it's also an opportunity to say, what else can we do? This is the really time to contemplate on what can we do besides our, you know, the business we had for years. Maybe that was not our dream anymore. Maybe we can do something different. So it creates also opportunities.
It does create opportunities. Well, in the future, when all this is over, this craziness, maybe we can do a retreat together.
I would love that. Yeah.
I would very much love that as well.
At your beautiful place there. I love your place.
And we'll have flowers everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It was such a pleasure to speak with you, Klazina, and I'm so happy that you're healed and whole and that all this is behind you now. So God bless you. You're an amazing woman, and I'm so happy that you came to the United States all the way from Holland, bringing color and love into our lives.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye-bye.
Bye.